To whom much is given, much is required. Part of that requirement is sharing. Culture is the heartbeat within our lives, and it's at the core of so many things. While we live in a time when we are starving for wisdom, I welcome you to your wisdom retreat at Culture Raises Us. So as I said, you have been one of the muses behind this concept when thinking about doing a deep dive into culture and cultures and individuals who reflect an impact in many, many different lights. You exemplify that, and we're going to talk about some of those things in our little convo that we're also sharing with the world, because that was the other premise of this platform, is that we've had so many amazing, real conversations.
Yes.
And we do ourselves a disservice and anybody that we care about a disservice by not sharing
the information,
some of those conversations
for sure,
and information. And so I thank you once again. I appreciate you and value you, and I will always sing your praises and give you your flowers.
Thank you, Pastor Astor. I feel the same way about you, brother.
I love you. So first thing, man, when you hear the word culture, what does that mean to you?
Man, ironically, I've been thinking a lot about the word culture lately, and what does it even mean anymore? I remember growing up, and although we had NWAs, we still had, more consciousness in the dysfunction, right? The dysfunction used to be the storytelling of it all, right? The where, what, when, how, people place thing, and it's now, people throw this word around like it actually validates their, statement of, what they're talking about. I mean, you look at the Migos, one of the biggest rap groups in history, their whole thing was culture. But I'm like, what culture though? And not in a disrespectful way, but just like, what culture? Like, now, I could say yes, from a tempo, feel good, you guys had the party on steroids, but, knock the pussy out like fight night. I don't know if that's culture. And then you look at, society now, music now, it's death, destruction, and mayhem. Like, those are the things that are defining our culture. And I don't like that. I don't want that. I want to mean more, to society than, a beat, some meaningless lyrics, and just no advancement as far as I'm concerned.
What does advancement look like to you? What would you want it to be?
Yeah, I want more meaningful everything. I mean, not just musically. I want more meaningful relationships. I want, our supposed leaders, which are called false prophets, I would like them to care more about the people that follow them. I would like, this Ponzi scheme movement in the financial literacy space. I wish that they'd actually give information that people can use, and get ahead with. And I mean, there are some, but there's not enough. And I just feel like the balance has to come. Like, we have to have balance. We can't continue to, live in dysfunction the way that we do. It's so normalized now that it's just not okay. And I see a future with, balance and leaders that are genuine, authentic, with messaging and meaningful words that impact and inspire, relationships, bringing back, the relationship, like, opportunities, right? I want to be a boss. I'm a boss bitch. I'm going to, all this stuff is like taking the fun out of relationships. It's a competition. You cannot have a sincere relationship because of the ongoing competitions and who you think you're supposed to be. It's just, I see balance in this future, bro. It has to be.
Yeah, no, balance is a beautiful word to identify what's needed, and I agree. And I look at, things that are happening, and I do think there's hope.
Yeah.
Right? There's hope. And I think having voices like this or conversations like this can hopefully inspire others to be a part of recognizing the need for balance. Not to say that we want to take everything away that's here that might be causing us to look at the culture or question the culture the way that we are, as you so eloquently did. But what's on the other side to counter that, right? To bring that balance, which I
Yes.
think is you're spot on. You're
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah. We have to
So
redefine culture.
I'm
We have to
yeah.
redefine what culture means. We have to put history back in that process. We have to, put knowledge of self
Yep.
back in that process. So there's some steps. We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. So I'm fortunate to know a ton of about you, but some who might be taking this journey with us today might not. So love a quick, who are you? Where you from? What's your story?
Yeah, Kenny Burns, kid from Washington D.C. Grew up in a single parent home. Had a lot of love. Was very curious about the streets because my father wasn't in place the way I needed him to be. Got in some trouble early on, realized that wasn't the life for me. Scarface was a fictional character, and I could not, participate in that world and function the way that I was meant to function. Came to Atlanta, Georgia on the request of my cousin brother, Leo Williams, to experience Freaknik. I saw these Black people from all over, just like me. It was an out-of-body experience of Blackness and joy. Quickly, moved to Atlanta, became the party king of Atlanta, defined for that era what that was going to be, look, and feel like. From that, I had opportunities in music. Claude Austin, Dallas Austin's brother, Dave Gates, gave me an opportunity. Same time, Clark Kent, after bringing him to some of my parties, took me on the road. So I'm on the road and DJing for Shaq and hosting for Shaq and all these people. And then, Rockefeller Records, I was introduced to Damon J through Clark Kent. Ended up helping them start their street teams and, helped them get going with a new label called Rockefeller Records. And, quickly made my way through the industry, making deals based on things I thought I could execute and win from, signing acts like Wale, Akon, the girl group Dream, biggest debut for girl groups in the history of girl groups behind the Spice Girls. Simultaneously at Rockefeller, had the opportunity, because went back to Rockefeller, worked with Mariah Carey, that didn't work out, went to Rockefeller, and we changed clothes. Jay made a song. We happened to be making some button-ups. We figured we were entering our 30s and we wanted hip hop to mature the way that we were maturing, coming into money and opportunity the way we were. And so, yeah, man, just took the opportunity. Became the second Black designers ever in Saks Fifth Avenue behind Willie Wear. Mind you, I forgot what 2020, I forgot what year that was, but that's a hell of a feat because now we see the Virgils and the Rubes
Yep.
and all types of people of color
Absolutely.
have infiltrated, those luxury doors. And then, I found that my skill set was putting people, places, and things together, and I learned how to monetize that through agencies of record. I never really wanted to start an agency, but I had an opportunity to consult for a few and started making a shitload of money and realized that I can be paid for my opinion or my knowledge of curating culture as long as I had at that point. And from there, I never looked back. I got into the spirits business, created many a memorable moment through my partnerships. I have become a spirit owner with Uncle Nearest. Since that partnership, I now own percentages in LS Cream Liqueur, Bayab Gin, Vusa Vodka, and cementing my family's legacy through hard work and
Legacy.
dedication. Yeah.
Legacy. I love it. With all the involvement that you've had, because in that brief breakdown, which you were just scraping the surface of all the things, you talked about multiple cultures, which all come together for the culture, what we
Yes.
used to or have been calling the culture to date. So your involvement in music, in fashion, media, entertainment, entrepreneurship, is there one that you feel kind of has led the charge the most in shaping culture today, right?
Yeah.
And I would ask, is there a moment that you remember clearly when one of these areas kind of moved culture in a significant way from a society standpoint? You mentioned the button down with the Ryan Kenny joint. I feel like that was one, but I'd love to hear from you. Was there another moment that really just you were like, oh, wait a minute, what we're doing is moving the world?
Yeah, music was definitely the thing that
Music.
showed us our power and influence. It started out as, an opportunity to display your skills and talent. It went to, oh no, you could do more than just rap or sing. You could have businesses. You can, be a mentor. You can, mean something to culture because you're moving it with this sound, this rhythm. If you even compare it to what Afro beats is doing now for the continent of Africa, you look at the spirit world, everything is spirit. Majority of your money is made in the States. Now the rest of the world knows that they could do it because we started this movement from the United States. It's giving people hope. It's giving people, that entrepreneurial bug, which I think is good and bad sometimes because everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not meant to, wear the crown and get all the attention and the light. The one thing I've learned on my journey, because musically I've seen it go from, our parents' era where it was the love, children, the love with the flower child, the love movement. And, you had Marvin Gaye and social and conscious music, and you had, Frankie Beverly and Mays, Happy Feelings, Golden Time of Day, to, simultaneously I'm listening to Slick Rick and Eric B. and Rakim, and I'm, then you usher in the 90s and you have the Biggies and, it's getting a little more, you know what I mean? Then you get to the Drakes and you find, okay, cool, it's really cool to be vulnerable. The women love it. People really love it. Although they try to hate, they love it. You get the storytelling again. I think, Rick Ross, I don't know why I compare him to Slick Rick, but the way he's able to tell stories through music, it's possessive. You know what I mean? But in saying all that, I've seen music go through so many stages in so many different eras to always come back to the one thing of moving the needle in culture. Always coming back to, no matter what was called for in that moment in time, hip hop was there. Just like Kenny Burns was there. It's so funny because my friend sent me this thing about Kanye's now net worth, going from a couple billion to 400 million. In that article, they have a picture of me presenting him his college dropout plaque. And no matter what goes on in culture, I'm talking about big. When Drake and Kanye were beefing, the only photo they posted was the one of me, him, and Drake, because they had no picture of them two together for whatever reason. Like,
Wow.
yeah, so I've always been at every pivotal moment, from the night Biggie died, my first time rocking the crowd outside of, going on tour with Clark Kent or in the funk clinic in the warehouse. I mean, so many things in history, like I've been there. So not only has it shaped the world, it shaped me.
Yeah, and in shaping you, I would say, obviously, you are a brand in yourself, right? We talk about that constantly, where you're always asking me questions about things that you're doing, what you're not doing, your whys, and so you're very cognizant of, to your point, brand KB.
Yeah.
And so within Brand KB, I've been watching and I noticed that you also create a culture of your own. And the culture that I coined for you is that of evolution.
Oh,
And what I mean by evolution is I've constantly see you evolve in scenarios, whether we call them pivots, whether we call them acclimating to things and ensuring that you are continuing to move the needle. You almost taking the same principles that you've seen music have on culture and embody that into brand KB,
absolutely.
right?
The growth.
So I definitely coin you as somebody who exemplifies this definition of evolution.
Right.
And I've said that before.
Right. I just want to, I just want to interject right there just for the necessity of the statement. Absolutely correct. My evolving came through my experience, right? But the crazy thing is, for the first time in my life, I'm not with some of the music. I'm not, you know what I mean? Now, you grow up, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to
Yeah.
like everything. You don't have to,
Absolutely.
but now I'm like,
Absolutely.
no, the destruction in it is so serious. I gotta pivot myself. And to your point, the evolution of me has
Yeah.
been, that journey through music and through culture and the influence. But now I feel like, we're end of days almost from life as we know
Yeah.
it. So yeah, but I just had to inject right there because that's a
No,
serious,
no, I love
yeah,
it.
serious statement.
No, that's a very serious thing, and I'm glad you made that point. And I want to be very clear that when I say evolution, I'm very intentional and not saying things like reinvention,
Yes.
right? Because I can't, I really can't stand the term, oh, reinvent yourself, or he
Woo!
reinvented himself. No,
That's the answer.
a reinvention. Listen. A reinvention is constituting that there was something wrong with the original, so we
Woo!
got to create something else. Nobody's reinventing the wheel, right? Because the wheel is a pretty damn good thing,
Yes.
but it evolves in type of tires, rims, or what have you. So that's why I'm very intentional with the evolution caption for you. And you've never been put in a box, yet you've affected so many aspects of culture, so many. And there's really no reference for what's never been done before, right? And I'm really intrigued on what that seed is that you water to continue to push against what I call normalcy and our traditional programming, because we are all programmed, but you continuously push out of those boxes in everything that you do.
It's my alignment, spiritually with the higher power. The
Yeah.
one thing I know about my life, because the majority of my life I've been a husband and a father, the idea of being anything less than selfless, I don't even, I don't even know how to do. You know
Cool.
what I mean? It's not even like first nature is let me protect and take care of. That's a
Uh-huh.
very maternal thing, which, our women are gifted with, but I possess that, and even as I get older, like the emotional connection, it's not even vulnerable, it's just the emotional connection I have back to the point of music. It's like I'm so locked in, like I can't even hear Drake when he's with 21 Savage. And I'm not dissing 21 Savage, but I can't even hear Drake.
Yeah.
Drake is number 3 in my top 5 of all time. I can't even hear him,
We've gone over
right?
it.
So it's like every level, I go to and transcend to, because I truly believe, like, I don't make steps, I take leaps and bounds. My life has been
Leaps. Well
my
said.
my life has been a series of leaps and bounds, right? And I just, I cannot be still and comfortable with myself if I'm not making a difference, you know, to the culture. I've always had my hand in bettering things and making sure people had an amazing time or got some information that they didn't have prior to meeting me or coming into my space. But like now I just feel so charged, to continue evolving by sharing everything I know, not necessarily canceling anything. There are some people that need to sit down, shut the fuck up, because
Yeah.
it's bad for, our people. It's bad for the ecosystem, the algorithm, the real life algorithm. But it's definitely, holding people responsible. Can't say things like you're holding a black vote hostage and a guy like Donald Trump ends up getting elected and 4 years later they storm the Capitol. I didn't know that was happening, but I was willing to lose a friend, or a comrade or a colleague over that because I don't feel the sincerity in your statement, one, and two, we can't do that. So, I'll continue to be that voice. And I'm blessed, man. I don't deal in celebrity. I don't deal in fame. I've never been about that. And you as one of my best friends know that better than anybody. But like, I'm proud of the relationships and more so respect I have from my peers so that when I talk, they listen.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the other side, I'm grateful that you understand the responsibility of being an example for others to look at, to know that it's possible, right? Because again, we're in a very programmed, traditional normalcy society, right? And we were raised in that.
Facts.
I mean, our parents go to college, get a 9-to-5 job, right? There's these boxes and these programs. you again being an example outside of that, and flourishing in the way that you do, and also sharing in the way that you do, is inspiring so many others to do the same in their respective lane and gift, right? Not the
Yes.
same thing as what you do, but within their respective worlds, it gets them closer to tapping into their purpose and their gift.
Facts.
Because unfortunately, so many gifts go unheard, unseen, untouched, because we get caught up in our worldly daily, ways.
Facts.
But I think what you do is you allow for more of those gifts to be unlocked by being an example, right? And so I always say, personality begins where comparison ends, right? And I've told you before on many occasions how proud I was of you owning this space of lifestyle specialist. Right? This lifestyle specialist that came on. Nobody else was doing this. So what seed that you planted for this to even become a reality and build a career around it?
Yeah, I mean, God rest the genius, love machine, Andre Harrell. But he taught me how lifestyle was about more than just how you showed up physically. And I think that I've not only adapted that, I've clearly coined a title for it that now people call themselves. It's amazing how many people are on the internet and their title is a lifestyle specialist. But I think for me, the real joy is that I'm showing people how to live your life, if you choose to do so, right? In a way that not only are you fulfilling your own purpose and dreams and desires, you're helping other people do the same, starting with my family.
There you go.
My friends. And that's always been my thing. I mean, anybody who's ever been around me growing up, I took with me as I went on, whether it was physically bringing them out, paying them salaries when we started 2620 and signed Dream, to then going on and, putting them with my relationships as I ascended, or, making sure that they had the right contact or knew the right person. And then as the internet came, I started doing it for whoever needed it. Because I feel like in life, so you said something a few minutes ago. What was the quote you just said? I love that, by the way. Might want to get that tattooed. What was the quote you just said?
Which one?
The one you literally just
About
read.
Personality?
Yes. Say that one more time.
Personality begins where comparison ends.
And that is the real gem in what I'm saying as well. Like, people always ask me, why are you telling everybody to manufacture? Why are you telling them why wouldn't I? They're not going to do what I do the way that I do it. That makes me unique. That separates the comparison, right? And I think that that's the mindset we should have as superheroes and real leaders. Real leaders, real superheroes aren't concerned whether or not you could do something better. Matter of fact, a real superhero, a real leader is going to bring the best and brightest to the table within their organization, right? It's not to bring them,
bring out the best.
Exactly. It's not to bring them in, bastardize them, make them feel less than. Once you got all of the information and relationships out of them, it's to bring them to the table and keep them. Because if you have, and I always say this, Puff had the best talent roster from an executive standpoint in the history of Black enterprise. The best. And not one of them are still there. Now, they're all gone on to their destiny and purpose, but what if Puff kept everybody? What if when he was doing, the Coco Loso and had Rick Ross and Meek Mill and all them doing the whole Ciroc, what if he just gave them their own brands? You think Ross wouldn't have brought, because Ross a hustler, he gonna bring, but you don't think he would have brought in Bel Air and Bumble and all the things? You don't think you don't think the wings stopped there? Imagine, and hear me, imagine if there was one conglomerate, consortium of minds that just got to it, knew the hustle, could put a motherfucker in a spin cycle, make them feel types of ways and get them to spin that bread. Imagine them in one house.
Mm-hmm.
And all you're doing is like back in the day when it was only Bad Boy, Death Row, you know what I mean, Rockefeller. Like there were only certain late cash money. There was only certain people you got. Imagine if it was one house and you took all that energy to
Mm-hmm.
get the coin. And I mean like Ye got the coin. You took all that energy, you got to $100 billion or whatever. To whatever the first black. But do you know what you could do with that type of capital? Do you know what type of opportunities? Not only are you showing the commitment to your people, camaraderie on a whole nother level and plane of thinking, you actually have the capital. That's why I was so kind of disappointed in Ye. Like, hold on, brother. Hold on. Don't let the narcissism take over the genius. You there. Like, you are there. You about to. One more move, Ye could have been Elon Musk out this joint. But they won't let him now. They won't let him now.
So, but what about the vision you have for the conglomerate? I love that point of view. Is it not possible? Is it not possible?
There's too many egos born out of, this narcissistic business world. It is not even, it's generationally possible, right? But it's going to take some generations to get that shit up out your system because it's trauma. I mean, you can't even, denounce the trauma that we've already had as a people. I mean, slavery is in our blood. It's in our DNA. Like that, feeling less than, feeling marginalized, feeling like, we live in a systemic bubble. Like that shit is real. And these are non-starters for people that can't deal with those types of pressures in reality, honestly. But yes, it could happen.
James Baldwin. Yeah, but to your point, James Baldwin says it best. People are trapped in history, and history is trapped in them.
Yeah.
And that's a major hurdle to the point that you're speaking about. But I feel I love the idea, and I'm optimistic that something like that can happen. And so maybe we should be planting more of those seeds.
Yeah.
And having more of those type of conversations to have people think that way.
Yeah. No, and I can't wait for your episode to come out so people can hear this, because that right there, that's how we change the narrative. That's the only way we can change the narrative. You're always going to need banks. You're always going to need partners. You're always going to need something from someone. Why not build this super justice league of fucking executives and creative minds, which Kanye was doing? And that's why, like, I would never get to the point of like cancel tone in my conversations about Ye. I would always make them about what you cannot do that Ye is doing.
Right.
Because you can't go young creative in any building and say anything anti-Semitic. You can't go into any relationship or meeting not having the footing Kanye has and do the things Kanye does. So, but even with Puff, like, without Puff, there would be no lifestyle specialists. He, Andre Harrell brought champagne to the game. He taught Puff brought, it ain't just champagne. We can own it. We get, the clothes, we could, you know what I mean? So, and obviously, want to give a shout out to Russell Simmons for part of that. But I think, this lifestyle thing, man, the GOAT was Andre Harrell, man. It's just so many things I learned from him that, were so pivotal in my growth, and I hope that some youngins are looking at me the same way.
I love it. They are. So with that, what's your POV on the evolution of lifestyle marketing today in the current climate and its impact on culture?
I think all the water has been muddied by personal relationships, and the need to feel like you got to go get somebody just to prove your point, or you don't pick the best person for the job because your friend is going to give you that kickback. I just think that the muddy waters has taken lifestyle marketing. Now that we even proved an ROI, because before I love to say that I created, influencer programs that all spirit companies use. I like to think that my, ability to not be a celebrity and have these companies like Amazon hire me to do public policy. or, you know, I have a shoe coming out at 50 with Puma. Things that are unheard of, and you know, in our culture, when you're 50, you're over. You go sit down, but that's the
Right.
mentality. And I'm not saying I'm experiencing this obviously because I have deals and I'm getting more deals, but I'm redefining as well. I'm not accepting status quo that I'm done when I'm done, and I'm done when I'm done, and I'll dress you young niggas, and I will fucking show up and talk that shit and put people in a trance,
Yeah.
and you know. So I think, you know, we
Evolution.
have absolutely, we though, as lifestyle marketers, people that can connect, you know, these big companies with an ROI. Not even just say people, we can connect them with an ROI. We can really move the needle. We have to stop muddying the
Mhm.
waters with personal agendas. You know, we have to
Yeah.
get to the best people for the job. We have to put the best minds in the building. The reason I've been doing business with Chauncey Hamlet for so long, who's at Pepsi now, you know, we started at Grey Goose, but he's in the building and he gets culture, real culture. I'm not talking about culture,
Mhm.
you know, the way people bastardize the name. I'm talking about culture. Black people having the opportunity to provide in a way that has never been done before. Black people connecting with brands that show their genius and creativity like never done before. People in the building like that, understanding the necessity of that, can take, like, that's why, yay, back to yay. You're in the building, bro. You were in
Mhm.
the building, but you took the nigga shit to the next level. And you not even a street
Yeah.
guy. And and this is where frustrated nerds have not only taken over the world, but they're now the cool guys. They're now the guys because they understand all the movies that they watch with the flying cars and the electric cars and Elon Musk. All the, you know, we could dress ourselves, dress ourselves. We can, but I'm gonna take this woman and I'm gonna make her too. Like, yay. I'm giving you examples of people. All the, Steve.
Let's say I want some context. Give him context on this frustrated
Yeah.
nerds
And I'll
caption.
use the best example. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created his own world that you had to participate in. He changed life as we know it. You've seen the movies about Apple. You've read the books. You've read the articles. His whole passion came from a lack of appreciation as a child and not getting no pussy in high school and not being the man. If you look at Facebook, if you look at his story, Zuckerberg wasn't getting no pussy. He wasn't cool. He didn't have that shit on. He's like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm gonna create my own world. And you're gonna have to live in it. You're gonna have to live in it. And the scariest piece of that, back to Apple, you can't do nothing without Apple. You can't do
This.
nothing without Meta. Not in a lifestyle marketing way, or from a lifestyle marketing perspective, or
Right.
a creative perspective, or a artistry perspective. So, that's that building I'm talking about Puff could have had. That's that building I'm talking about Ye could have had. We don't have that. Not one black, like Robert Smith, all the brilliant motherfuckers who made that back. We don't still have that though. We got some individuals that got
Yeah.
some paper, but we don't have that
Mhm.
structure. We don't have no Meta. We don't have no Tesla. And that's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem for the way we show up in
And
the future and how we exist in the future.
that's the thing is how are we using these moments and this information as tools for our next step holistically, right? So is that what success looks like for you then? For us to have those things, or is it even quantifiable? Is it a feeling? What is success?
Success for me, honestly, is the people that look to me, that I love, that I spend my time and pour into, that they are good humans and continue to do that to others. That is my goal in life. Now, I don't have a
Yeah.
financial goal. Do I see $100
Right.
million in the investments and things that I'm doing? Absolutely. But all of my partnerships, all of the money that's circulating in my ecosystem has to go to that building. And it might not be me that's creating it. I mean, Fawn Weaver, who's my partner in Uncle Near's, and very great friend and family member now, she's building a building. I don't know how far that building's gonna go, but she very well could build that building. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that we as a culture, and I'm gonna fuck everybody up right now. For those who see my pictures and judge me because I'm immaculately dressed all the time, and I put that effort into making people around me fucking sharing my light, which people can't stand, which is totally the most selfish thing I could possibly do. But for the people that need to hear this, it ain't even me that's gonna create it. I know my limitations. I'm talking about from a creative standpoint. I know what I'm willing to do. There's just certain things I'm not willing to do. But there are people out here, ladies and gentlemen, that are willing to go that extra mile. If they are a good human, I'm championing their movement. I'm investing in their movement. I'll leave what I'm doing to go be a part of that movement because I understand the value of generational wealth. Now, I never knew the value. I never knew why you should have property. And I never knew why you should have life insurance. I never knew. And if our generation is first to really getting the 360 concept of an ecosystem of a place where we need to be and show up, I mean, geez, first generation, everything, as far as I'm concerned.
No, that you're spot on, and I think there's this notion of humility in that you're speaking to, and not from a standpoint of not thinking less of yourself, but it's about thinking of yourself less.
Exactly.
Right, and thinking of the bigger, which is what we're talking about here, and why that's so necessary to get out of the me and get into the we, because there's a collective opportunity that we all need to galvanize on for the betterment of all. Right, so it's not just a us. This is the betterment of all. I think we've all been mediocre at best to date. Mediocre. We have an opportunity to all be great with this type of approach and mindset. So I'm with you 1,000% on that. And you know, a critical piece of our foundation is obviously the spiritual piece. And we always talk about how good God has been, and you also know that only God can map out your journey. I mean, all of our journeys for sure, but yours in particular. I mean, that's only God. Have you ever had a moment though when you questioned His plan for you and the direction He took you in?
You know, I've never questioned my journey. I've never, you know. My son most recently had brain surgery, and you know, I never even questioned what that was about. I truly locked into he needed this to be the best version of himself, and that's just how I look at life. You know, I can't get stuck into why. You know, I wanted my father, right? Yes. I wanted, you know, parents. I wanted the fucking normal childhood. I didn't want to fucking sell drugs. There's all types of shit I didn't want to do. Felt like I had to do because of what I saw and, you know, thought I needed to emulate. I didn't want to do that shit, you know? And I think that people get so caught up in the thing. That's why social media is so good and bad, right? They can inspire you. It can inspire you, but it's also to tear your soul up. And this is what we're fighting for now. Right now, we're not fighting for nothing else but spirituality and your own sanity in your soul. Because the demands on our children, I mean, you got 20-year-olds getting butt lifts. Like, your baby, you ain't even had no baby. You know, when you have a baby, your thing drop a little bit and could drop in the right way. You don't have to do. I'm just saying, like, they don't even know. They just see everybody else doing it.
So they run to it.
You know what I mean? And so I think for me, no, I've never questioned it. I've always been, honestly, in those moments, like in the most, you know, uncomfortable times of my life, I've been present, which a lot of people aren't. Motherfuckers get uncomfortable and they fall back and look to everybody else but their motherfucking selves to get through it. But that's one thing about me. Like, I know God because I know myself. I believe in myself. I know that the powers that I have, the abilities I have to move people, that's not regular. That's not like, everybody doesn't get that, has not gotten that. And I know and I know it's bigger than me. I might not, get down with the church and some of their beliefs and the way that money has become a factor, but I know that higher power, that man, that woman, that being has put me in position to live my life for a living. I live my life for a living.
You absolutely do, and it's his favor of the gifts that he's given you. Because again, we are not that smart or that good.
Facts. Even though motherfuckers think they are, you're not. There's some favor.
You're not.
There's some favor in there. Okay.
A lot
unless
of favor.
You're aligning,
a whole lot.
Unless you're aligning with the devil. And we have a lot of that culture vulture shit going on from our own. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not the success. I don't want you aligning with the devil or devilish ways because you think that's going to get you. That shit is fleeting. That shit won't contain your soul. That motherfucker will blow up in a million pieces.
Yeah. So back on the family piece a little bit, how do you find balance in being a leader in the work life, but also at the home piece?
Yeah, I mean, well, my home is my sanctuary.
Yeah.
I built this home literally with my wife and children, and it is the place where I recharge. It is the place where I go home and I rub the walls. I walk in my grass barefoot. I put Loveland on in the backyard, so I'm always reminded of where my center is, where my heart belongs, where my commitment is. See, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have commitment to anything, you don't have commitment to yourself. You cannot possibly expect to benefit in this world not committing. You got to commit. You have to stick and stay. You cannot continuously go out here and be frivolous in the world of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what this shit is out here now.
Yeah.
This shit is literally end of days. And life as we know it. Not the end of the world, end of days. End of the world as we know it. Listen to that. But this is where I think people really lose the importance of having a sanctuary, having a place where you could be whole and not have the pressures of the world and have reminders. And so that's what home is to me, man, And it's so crazy because like I used to travel all the time.
Yeah.
We came with that 4-day rule, and the 4-day rule was like be gone the first day, back on the fourth, cool. So we did that but now it's like, I don't really want to go nowhere without my wife, to be honest. Like, it gets to the point where like, okay, I need that energy. So when I'm not home, she's home, and we're in Italy, we're in Japan, we're in Australia. Like that's my next phase. I can give back from anywhere with technology. I can do business from anywhere with technology. My new thing is to take that energy out here into the world with me as I continue to grow.
I love it. It sounds like your why. And there was a wise young lady that once told me, when you remember your why, you never lose your way. And it sounds like you're very locked in. Yes, let that sink in. You're very locked in to your why. And is there like an intentional choice you make to ensure that you don't deviate from your why?
Yeah. I get the fuck out the way.
Yeah.
I don't let bullshit get near my tennis shoes. I just can't, I'm at that point in my life. I don't want no smoke. And any smoke that I start, any fire that I start, I'm a man and I'm gonna stand in it until it's out. But at the same time, if I can keep myself out the way, I'm gonna do that. Look, I used to be, you remember this, I used to be in places like, I don't feel right, let's go.
Yep.
An hour later, the shit was shot up, or such and such about to, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Hours later, I've always got the fuck out the way. I'm talking to y'all out there debating whether if y'all want to keep dealing with somebody that's not good for your spirit, relationship or business. You motherfuckers out there, you know what I'm saying, thinking that you gotta do something that infringes on your integrity. I'm telling you, motherfuckers, walk the fuck away from
Listen,
that. Okay.
you do that at every level of your life. I will never forget making dinner one night. You came over to the house and I was cooking up a mean, because you know I get down in the kitchen, a mean chicken thigh with mustard sauce situation. And you were watching over my shoulder the entire time, just enamored about everything. When you saw the sour cream hit the pan and the sauce, you said, you know what? I'm gone. I'm done. I can't have that. I said, what's the problem? No,
you just left me. You just lost me.
You just lost me. You put the sour cream in there. I said, okay, so what's the issue? You don't even taste it. No, I can't do that, B. And I can't, no, this was the best line ever. I can't unsee that. I said,
yeah.
I can't unsee that. So, and I use that as an example to show, and I guess it is this very intentional approach to everything that you take it down to even that level. Right?
Yeah, that level is super ghetto.
Right.
But part of my journey nonetheless, right? But to that point, we do have to fortify who we are before we can be a part of anybody else's movement.
Agree.
That's business or relationship. And I feel like because I'm who I am, because I would never do certain things, if the shit is uncomfortable to me, I'm getting the fuck out the way. And it saves me from going to jail. It saves me from, putting myself in positions where I got to feel a certain way every day I go into the establishment. Who wants to go into an establishment every day where somebody doesn't understand you? Who wants to go in an establishment every day where somebody could care less of your value? They could care less how valuable you are. You're in this position as long as you stay there, shut the fuck up. But you got more to offer in life, don't you? You have more to say in life. You have more to contribute in life. And that's when that is tested, you got to get the fuck out of the way.
Well, let's have a conversation about that, because it's so funny. I was at a church service some weeks ago, and the pastor mentioned, God puts many of us in situations and environments to be a change agent, right? So these environments may be toxic, and toxic can be a number of different things. But he puts you in there not to become the environment, but to actually change the environment. So do you agree, at least in those instances where, you're not valued, you're looked upon in a scrutiny level that's not fair and all that? Is there an element of, okay, but sometimes we might be put there for a reason to help change the culture?
Yeah, but the example is just like I said. I'll use Chauncey Hamlin again. You got to know how to get the system too. You know what I mean? And I feel like for Black folks, we think this kickback system is the way. We think, we're gonna do X. No, there are plenty of ways to get some money. If you are in a place and you're dealing with something that's not positively affecting your soul, what's the only real thing you can do in that instance? Is get some money out the motherfucker. So you got to figure out how to create whatever company and this, that, and the third, have the company pay your company that pays your other company. They do it all the time, ladies and gentlemen. They do it all the time. But I am saying the ones who are inside the building that understand culture, they're the most valuable. I have nothing to say on somebody that's not good for culture, because you know what I mean? Good for culture is, what are you giving back? How are you putting things in perspective? When you put somebody on, what's the objective of this relationship, and how is it going to flourish so the next person has hope and has the identity, or now blueprint rather, that they can come do the same? You're not doing that. You just exist. And it's fine. Some people are here to push paper. And it's fine. But see, the problem that the internet has brought upon us, the problem of all these false prophets actually monetizing by lying, you know what I mean? Selling you a dream, make you think you're going to make $1 million. You know what I mean? I've seen some crazy shit the last 6 months. I'm just like, I am blown away. But that is the wrinkle in the human algorithm. That's not real life, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody can't do that. And the more of y'all who try to do something outside of your wheelhouse, and I'm not talking about don't try nothing and stay doing, but your wheelhouse. Your wheelhouse is currently the director at Sam's Club. But your wheelhouse doesn't have to stay the director of Sam's Club.
Right.
But you can't go be, and I'm not saying you can't. I don't want to muddy that. But some leaders are meant to lead, but we can't have leaders without. Help me out with that, Pastor Astor. Button that statement up, because there's something there, but I can't button it up. But there's something there.
Okay, we'll work through that. We'll work through. We'll work through that.
No, that means you didn't understand what I was saying either. I want you to end it though, like in that statement, because too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Too many cooks in the kitchen has always been used.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. You feel me? That's where I was going.
Okay, so here's, I make an analogy or a comparison to leaders building leaders as opposed to leaders building followers out of fear. Because what you find a lot are a lot of scenarios where leaders are trying to institute fear into their team or the people in which they work with due to their own insecurities and the things that they're trying to hide and feeling insecure, or potentially, will I lose my position or my things to this individual? And you spoke about this earlier, about how you have no problem of sharing your gifts, your resources, your tools. It's all about a share. A number of people will look at that and say, well, I'm not going to do that, because then if I give other people the same tools, that means they might get more than me or be better than me.
Right.
A real leader should want and desire for someone to be better than me. I get so much joy from seeing individuals that worked with or for me that have now springboarded into positions and opportunities that way exceed, quote unquote, what I'm doing or what I've done. That's the real win. So I think I'm hoping what you were trying to say is probably leaders building leaders as opposed to leaders building followers out of fear.
Yeah, that is a very eloquent way to say it. And I'm also saying, too, it's too many motherfucking cooks in the kitchen. There you go. So, it's too many. It's not enough. It's too many chiefs and not enough.
You're so focused. Your eyes are screen. I love that. So with that, why don't you leave 3 seeds that you want to leave with the stewards of culture moving forward? What would the 3 key seeds that you'd want to leave that they would water to be, again, the best stewards of culture?
Number 1, let truth be your mantra. Truth, whatever your truth is, whatever you believe, your truth, whatever your truth is, never waver on your truth. And water the motherfucker out there.
Yeah, I love that.
Sorry for cursing, but that shit was necessary.
Number 2, you'll continue to. It's all right.
Number 2, and I say this a lot, but it's so true. Never let your expectations exceed your efforts.
You always say that.
Water that seed, because your expectations will leave you hanging without the effort. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress enough. So number 1, truth. Number 2, never let your expectations exceed your effort. And then, partnership is the most valuable commodity I think we have in business. Partnership. And you have to be open to receive, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot continue to be out here thinking you're going to do something by yourself. You can't think that as you grow, more people are going to be necessary to help that growth. Partnership is key to success. So, live in your truth. Never let your expectations exceed your effort. And value your partnerships.
I love you, bro. Those were...
Love you back.
Spot on. I thank you for allowing us to share a conversation that we have all the time, but I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice and many a disservice by not letting others have access to it. And this exemplifies exactly that. So I want to thank you for being open to having these real,
Absolutely.
transparent conversations with the goal of helping. How are we helping?
Yes.
How are we informing? How are we inspiring? And how are we motivating? And you, my friend, have been a reflection of that. I love you for who you are and for what you represent. And I'm very grateful. And I just want to thank you for being on.
Absolutely, brother. And I'm so proud of you. The world now gets to see why we call you Pastor Asta, why you have been the glue in our crew from day one. And it's necessary, man. We need more thoughtful leaders that are sharing these messages, because we are responsible for the algorithm. And hopefully what you're doing will be a platform for that to not only exist, but thrive. So I'm proud of you. I love you. And thank you for having me, bro.
My pleasure, bro. My pleasure. We truly appreciate your support because it helps us fulfill our mission of promoting cultural awareness and personal development. Please click the subscribe button below to help ensure and solidify our mission.